Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Georgian Greek Podcast. I am your host, Stephen Kardamis, and today I will be speaking with my fellow ABAC student, Anslee James. Anslee is a member of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, vice president of the Judiciary Law Club, and is set to become editor-in-chief of the Stallion newspaper in the fall of 2024. Anslee, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, for those who don't know you, who is Anslee James? Who is the next boss of the Stallion newspaper?
So a lot of my identity kind of revolves around the newspaper and probably school because I spend a lot of time here at ABAC. I'm a double major in history, government, and writing communication, but outside of school, I am pretty normal. I like to play with my dog. I do boxing, and I like to run a lot. I'm training for a half marathon, and yeah, it's a little bit about me.
How do you feel about taking over as editor-in-chief of the Stallion?
I'm really nervous, honestly, but I'm really excited for this change. We've had a transitional period this semester where I've gotten to sort of dip my toes into what it's like being editor-in-chief, and step by step, Delaney's kind of pulled back. And this upcoming issue, it'll be completely on me. In the corrections box, it'll say my name is editor-in-chief, and it'll sort of be like an introduction. So, of course, I am nervous because I won't have Delaney to lean back on, but also I realize that I do have an amazing staff, and they're always there to help me, and I can lean on them when need be.
And I actually have a question here, courtesy of one Dr. Charlotte Klessman. She was talking about the workload that's going to come with being editor-in-chief, and her question to you was, are you crazy?
A lot of people think I am. My parents definitely think I am because I spend a lot of time at ABAC, and I'm also campaigning for student government right now. But I kind of manage my time really efficiently, and I always say I'm working double time. So if I'm doing an event for the Campus Activities Board, I'll be taking pictures for their social media, and then I'll also be taking pictures for the Stallion, or I'll bring an article idea to the Stallion from the other clubs I'm in. So it's honestly kind of beneficial sometimes to be doing so much all the time.
Tell me a little bit about your journey with the Stallion. How did you first get involved with the paper, and what motivated you to take on leadership positions within the newspaper?
So I have known Delaney since my senior year of high school, and I actually came up to the office my senior year to show her the pictures I took, my graduation photos, and I met Dr. Grant, and he, of course, gave his little spiel on how I should join the Stallion, and I joined as a staff writer, and I was a staff writer for 1 or 2 semesters, and I wasn't super committed to the Stallion. I didn't really enjoy writing that much or anything. Then I became marketing manager, and that was when I became more committed to the Stallion, and I was writing 3-4 articles an issue. I got more into photography and started taking photography for all these events on campus. I started getting advertisements for the Stallion, and that sort of made me develop a connection with the newspaper and want to see it grow, and I think that is what made me want to become editor-in-chief and sort of what drove me to become editor.
What are your main responsibilities as the Stallion's current co-editor, and what will be some of your responsibilities as its future editor-in-chief?
So what I've been telling a lot of people when they ask me what exactly a co-editor is I just describe it as an editor in training. So Delaney tries to give me as much of her job as possible, not just because she's busy, but just because this is what it's going to be like when I'm editor-in-chief, and she wants me to be able to get used to it while she's there to help me and hold my hand. I think my responsibilities will be pretty similar to what they are now. I handle layout by myself. I do article assignments. I make sure everyone is on time with their articles. I message them with updates on them, and I think that relatively won't change.
What have been some of the biggest challenges you faced during your time working for the newspaper? And also, what have been some of your biggest successes or accomplishments?
A lot of my challenges came with being marketing manager and working with advertising. Marketing is not easy, and to be quite frank, I really didn't like it. The businesses you work with, you have to be really accommodating to them and their time, and it's really sometimes frustrating when, they won't get back to you. You have to stay in their inbox, so they will, or you ran the ad and you still have yet to get a check from them. A lot of that has happened multiple times, and it's really frustrating. I would say my biggest accomplishment during the Stallion is probably the first time I did cover I do cover every issue now, but I remember Delaney was sick, and I was supposed to just take the cover photo and do the cover article. And Dr. Grant sat with me, and I learned how to use InDesign, and I learned how to do cover for the first time. And that was just a big accomplishment to me and a really big step towards me wanting to be editor-in-chief.
How do you balance all those responsibilities, all your responsibilities with the Stallion and the other organizations that you work with? How do you balance all that with your classwork?
Honestly, I just have a planner, and it's my ride or die. I love her. It's like a daily planner, and so I plan out my days by the hour, and I already know at this time I'm going to study. Like, pretty much every day as of lately, I've been waking up at 6 a.m. to go to the library and study and get work done. And I don't always make all A's, if I'm being completely honest. I do sometimes turn in assignments late, but I feel like even with students that aren't in these organizations, they do the same thing. And so it is difficult, but as long as you stay on top of yourself and hold yourself accountable, it's manageable.
No, of course. As the next boss of the newspaper, I'm sure many would be curious to get your thoughts on journalism as a whole, especially student journalism. So what do you feel sets the Stallion apart from other college newspapers?
I think our agricultural background definitely sets us apart from other college newspapers, especially in the area, which is quite surprising. But we're the only college newspaper in the state with an agriculture section, and we're the only ones that have a specific focus on agriculture. While schools that are bigger, like UGA, they obviously are going to have more events, and they're going to have, I would say, more politics surrounding their newspaper. We have a lot of niche things that bigger colleges aren't able to get, like having more insight on smaller communities on campus, and we are able to highlight those also because we're such a small college. There's a lot of different things that set us apart and I think give us an advantage over bigger schools.
Why do you feel student journalism is important, and what do you think are the biggest challenges facing student journalism today?
I think student journalism is important because it promotes media literacy. I don't even want to become a journalist in the future. I literally want to become a lawyer, but being on the newspaper has really helped me in my media literacy and being able to understand, this is why this news article was written like this. This person wrote this news article in a way that makes them uncredential. And I think the biggest challenges facing student journalists today is the ability to get a job if you do want to go into journalism. Like, I know Delaney is doing her internship at WLB, and they want her to sign a 3-year contract on really low pay, and you can't go work for their competitors if you do work for them for like 5 years after that. And I feel like companies expect too much out of student journalists, and you can only make it in the field if you work 60, 80 hours a week, and it's unrealistic for a lot of people.
What are some of your goals as the future editor-in-chief?
My goals are honestly to continue what Delaney has brought to the table and more. We used to be an award-winning newspaper for the USG and get awards every single year for best issues, and with COVID, we kind of plateaued and we didn't really make any progress and haven't got a plaque since Delaney became editor-in-chief. So I think my goal would be to continue that and get plaques for the best issue and all of that when competing against schools like UGA, because that is a big feat, but I really think we can do it.
And now you've mentioned your predecessor a few times, Delaney Garcia, who is leaving behind a pretty impressive legacy, all things considered, behind her hard work, or a lot of achievements behind her. What do you hope your legacy will be as editor-in-chief of the Stallion when you graduate?
Honestly, I've looked up to Delaney ever since I met her in high school. Like, I've told her before, she's like an older sister that I've never had to me. So I hope I have even like a dime of the legacy she's left. And I just want to be able to say at the end of the day, I put in a lot of hard work into this thing I'm really passionate about. Even if we don't come out with these plaques, even if it's not perfect, at the end of the day, I want to be able to say I did everything I could to get us there, and I hope whoever comes after me will be able to say the same.
Are there any things you'd like to add, anything you'd like to say to the ABAC community any final thoughts you'd like to give them as your time as editor-in-chief approaches?
As much time for editor-in-chief approaches, I'm really excited. As a lot of people know, Dr. Grant is resigning, and that does contribute to my anxiety because he has been the advisor for so long. But I would like to say that whoever is the advisor, I believe they will work well with me and will hopefully be a good team, and the Stallion will thrive.
And you mentioning that, I must ask, are there any final thoughts or words you have for Delaney and Dr. Grant as they move on to their greener pastures?
I would probably just say thank you to both of them. They've both done so much for me, that more than I can even say. You know, like Dr. Grant sitting with me and showing me how to use InDesign and showing me how to do cover. He showed me how to use Photoshop. Delaney, she showed me how to do pretty much everything I know right now. I would not know anything about the newspaper without her. And I would just say thank you to them for all they do, and I hope they thrive in what they do in the future.
Very nice final words. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Georgian Greek Podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, as I said, Anslee will be the next boss of the Stallion newspaper. So if you have any interest in working for the newspaper or any questions or comments about the newspaper, you need only reach out to her. Anslee, thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.